Hello, this is Elizabeth Naylor with Ebenezer Wellness, and today we're having our weekly Ask Anything call, where those of you in attendance have the opportunity to enter a question into the chat box while I'm talking. I'll talk for 5 or 6 minutes about the topic. You enter any questions that you have, and then I'll be able to answer them for you. And often I can unmute people. It just depends on your connection. So I suggest if you want to use the chat box, that would be great. Today we're discussing how detox supports menopause symptoms. And so one of the things we want to look at is where do menopause symptoms come from and how what we're eating and our diet and our lifestyle impacts what we experience as we go through menopause. What we know is that menopause symptoms look like hot flashes, sleeplessness. There can be headaches or migraines involved. There can be sort of a foggy headed thinking involved. There can be anxiety, maybe a little depressive side, tension. There can be a lot of things, a lot of symptoms that are involved that we may classify as premenopause and menopausal. And yet what we know is when we look at the Western culture, so the United States would be part of that, and we compare that to more traditional cultures. More traditional cultures are in other parts of the world, basically. We may be talking about India, we may be talking about China, we may be talking about Africa. When we look at other cultures who are more traditional, or even cultures that are maybe Western but still eat a more traditional diet, when we look at those cultures, women who go through menopause there don't have the same symptoms. They don't have the same issues at the same level of intensity that we have here in the United States. And so it gives us a clue that says there's something about our diet and lifestyle potentially that is really impacting the process, the phase of life where we go through menopause. One of those things that impacts us are the toxins that we're exposed to. So we're exposed to what we call estrogen mimickers, or scientists call them endocrine disruptors. Endocrine simply means hormone, and that means all of your hormone system, not simply your progesterone, estrogen, testosterone, but it means all of your hormones. So your adrenal hormones, your blood sugar, all of your hormones, your pituitary hormones that drive all of that. Toxins, particularly endocrine disruptors, which most of them that we're exposed to are, will come in and disrupt those hormonal systems. These are some places we get exposed in body in them, and they don't have to be on the label. And so I would really suggest you look for a reputable company. What does that mean? It means someone who's really a clean company. They're usually going to be smaller. They're going to be they're going to submit their product for sampling by outside sources who can confirm that there's no hormones or other endocrine disruptors in those products. Those kind of products. Those are the things that I use because I have seen a huge difference in switching makeup products, lotions, shampoos, those things to things that don't add endocrine disruptors to my life every day. Because as you see on this list, women, we're exposed to a lot of things. I think that average is 20 a day of different products that we're exposed to, whereas men will be more like 5 to 10 a day, and kids will be more like 5 a day. But we're all exposed every day in body care products. It's a very important point. Perfume, almost all perfumes are endocrine disruptors. And so essential oils are not. The ones that you buy in the little bottles in the health food store or on the health food aisle, or I have a great source for essential oils, aromatherapy. Those are not endocrine disruptors, but most perfumes contain endocrine disruptors. For more on this topic, there is a website it's called the Environmental Working Group, EWG.org. And on their site, they have a section, I think it's called Body Burden, but it's a section where you can put in, you can go to and look for clean shampoos, for example, and they actually have things ranked by the safest to the most toxic, where they have ingredients. And so you can actually put your product in there and look and see what it ranks, or you can simply search for shampoos and let it give you the list of the cleanest products. Exposure, we also get exposed in home care products. And so same story. If we've got pets, the pet care products, all the things that we do with decorating our home, air fresheners and candles that we love, the pesticides that are outside our house come inside our house on our feet, and so the dust also is a place where we're exposed to these endocrine disruptors, and all of the things that we use in cleaning for our laundry, for our kitchen, for our bathrooms, all of those things potentially have endocrine disruptors in them. Again, I've switched to everything being cleaning supplies that have essential oils in them versus cleaning supplies that are made from Clorox, for example, chlorine products. Chlorine is an endocrine disruptor. It particularly is disruptive of your thyroid. And so I switched products, and these things work really well. They're actually less expensive, and so all is good. If you want more information on that, then contact me about the Detox Your Life series, or go to the website Best Detox Dallas and sign up for that Detox Your Life series. That is going to be a place where you can learn how do I get all of these things out of my life and what are some cleaner solutions. These things act as endocrine disruptors, and so the main thing that happens to women is if we're exposed to these every day, our entire life, right? And so we get into our 40s, and we've been exposed to these things for decades now. And our diet is questionable because we live in America, and so we're eating what the standard American diet tends to be. And although 5 to 7 servings, 5 to 9 servings of fruits and vegetables per day are recommended, very few of us actually eat those. And so what we find is our ability to detox these endocrine disruptors and also just to detox our own hormones declines over time. Our liver gets sluggish, our gallbladder gets sluggish. For women, the gallbladder is really something that you can see as a woman gets more and more estrogen dominant, her gallbladder function really goes down because the bile in the gallbladder, which is what your liver makes and is stored in your gallbladder, the bile gets sluggish and more sluggish and more sluggish, and that also makes it challenging to then detox properly. And so by the time we're in our mid-40s and we're looking at going through menopause, all of these things are going on with us, and estrogen dominance is really what results because we're exposed to all these endocrine disruptors that look like estrogens. We make our own estrogen in our body, but we're not really effectively detoxing it because our liver and gallbladder are sluggish. And so what happens is we become estrogen dominant. And that is what kicks off all of these symptoms. It kicks off symptoms of heavy cycles, of pain, of uterine fibroids, as well as what the PMS, the anxious hormone shifts, the night sweats. All of these things get kicked off. I'm just quickly going to go through the phases of liver detox so that we remember we go through these quite often. But you really have 2 phases of liver detox and then an intermediate phase. So there's 3. Phase 1 breaks things apart. Phase 2 puts them back together. The intermediate phase is actually more toxic than the beginning phase. And so you have all these toxins coming in, and ideally they're going to go through phase 1, phase 2, and out via your urine or your bowel. That's ideal. But what happens to us over time is that we don't eat real food. Real food is very important for this process. And we may also have imbalances in phase 1 and phase 2, and that causes problems. And so over time, if we have in our phase 2, you have these 6 categories of ways that people detox. We all have these 6 categories, but within each of us individually, some of those detox pathways may not work properly. So you may have dozens or hundreds of pathways within each of these categories. A few of them don't work right, you're okay. A lot of them don't work right, it starts to become a problem. And so in this particular case, we're going to take out glutathione conjugation. Say maybe a lot of those don't work right. So let's just, as an example, we'll take that out. So you're in your mid-40s, you have eaten all these toxins and been exposed to them throughout your life. You really have, your diet is pretty good. You eat some vegetables, but you don't necessarily eat dark green vegetables twice a day, and you're not necessarily getting those foods every day even. And so you're in your mid-40s, your liver is kind of sluggish, your gallbladder is kind of sluggish, and you're estrogen dominant from all of these exposures, and you're someone whose phase 2 detox isn't working quite as well as you'd like for it to be. What happens is you get a backup of intermediate metabolites. You get a backup of those more toxic metabolites. And so you don't actually detox and get out of your body all of this excess estrogen. And that is really what causes a lot of these symptoms that are related to menopause. And so when we cleanse, when we do a detox program, the main focus of the program is to both support phase 2 detox, because that's usually where most people have a problem. So you support phase 2 detox, and you support getting the toxins, binding them and getting them out of the body. So there's fiber involved, there's water involved, but you do all that it needs to happen to support getting out of there. And so you may ask, well, what are the things in phase 2 that really support detox? And it's all the green foods, right? It's the green foods, it's foods that have sulfur in them. So you'll see at the top here, sulfation. Foods that have sulfur in them, those are all the green foods, as well as the allium, or the allium foods, which are onions, garlics, leeks. You'll see down there amino acid conjugation and methylation. Methyl groups are also on. They're very high on dark green vegetables. So Brussels sprouts, kale, the cruciferous vegetables, dark green leafies, so Swiss chard, things that are bitter like dandelion root. Those are all full of methyl groups. They're full of sulfur, and they help support all of these detox pathways. And then you'll also see amino acid conjugation. So protein, or having amino acids, is also a very important part of this, and you can get those certainly from beans, eggs, meats, and you can get them from brown rice a little bit. Get your different amino acids, but really protein is really important. And as part of the cleanse, there is protein in the shakes, because that's something that, even though we're not eating meat the first 10 days, we want to keep that in there. So that's basically how detox supports menopause symptoms, because it reduces that estrogen dominance, gets your liver and gallbladder tuned up so that they're functioning better, and that itself tends to alleviate a lot of these symptoms that women report through menopause. Okay, so I'm going to stop and see if we have any questions. Okay, so someone wants to know about fibroids. Fibroids are typically caused by estrogen dominance. And when you catch estrogen dominance early, and when I say early, that may mean back in your 30s. It may mean earlier than that. When you understand that that's an issue earlier, you really, and you take care of it, you really reduce your risk of getting fibroids. Fibroids typically go away after menopause. And so I know people have them surgically removed. I know some people don't, and they leave them and they shrink and go away after menopause. And that's really a very personal choice, and it's one that you want to discuss with your doctor. But I will tell you that doing cleanses regularly can be really supportive of avoiding the fibroids, because what's really creating that situation is an estrogen dominance situation. All right, and another question here is, how often do I recommend a detox? And again, it's very personal. If you've never done one and you're in your 40s, I'd suggest do one. See how you like it. If you do one again in 2 or 3 years, you're better off than you've been before. So it's really, I like to meet people where they are and not put really any specific time frames on it. I will tell you, I have clients who do a purification program 3 times a year because they have very specific goals with their health and their fitness, or they have very specific health issues that they're trying to improve. And so for 1 or 2 years, they may do 3 a year. I tend to settle out at 2 a year is a good number. It keeps people on track in terms of their eating habits. So they may start to waver a little bit, but then if they do another cleanse, it kind of motivates them to get back on track. I also think once a year is a good number as well. Lots of clients who do a cleanse once a year. Again, anytime you do one, it's valuable for you. Another question is, what if I'm taking bioidentical hormones? Will that impact? Yes, it will impact your ability to detox those bioidentical hormones. My view of that is that that's a good thing. Okay, so my view of that is you want your liver working properly. And so if you're choosing to take synthetic hormones or bioidentical hormones, either one, you're going to want your liver at top capacity to be able to detox that. Because whether you're exposed to them in these toxins that I was discussing, or you're exposed to them because you're actually taking them, or you're making your own hormones, as we all do, all of those, once they've been utilized by the body, have to be detoxed. They all have to be broken down by the liver and either recycled or sent out via the urine or the bowel. And so regardless of what you're doing, it's a great program to do, and we would talk about that specifically about your case, as I always talk about what medications people are on and how that might impact their medications. And typically there's not any problem at all, but we do go through that. And when you need to consult with your prescribing doctor, I always recommend that as well. Okay, I'm looking to see if there are any more questions. All right, well, I think we're done for the day. Thank you so much for your attendance and for your questions, and I look forward to talking to you again next week as we continue in our Detox Supports series. Thanks, and have a great day.